Valentine's Day to everyone. We are going to jump right into this video today. So my eyes are already primed and my brows are already done, and we are going to go right into that Jaclyn Hill palette and pick up the shade MFEO to buff into our crease as a transition shade, and then just pick up Pukey from the same palette and go right over top of that first shade. We're just creating some transition, and we're using a long white-haired brush to really diffuse the color. Now we're jumping into the Morphe 39A palette and picking up the shade Create. We are going to put this color just a little bit lower in our crease to start creating some depth and some deepness on that lid. So I'm using a little bit denser of a brush and just really packing that shade on. Right now I just wanted the color to get on there, and then I picked up the Morphe M433 brush to really diffuse it and buff all of the harshness out of it. And then I picked up this shade Snatched and went right over top of that Create shade just to really build up this color. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just building up the color in the crease because I wanted a really pretty pinkish red in my crease. Then I'm going into the Morphe 35B palette, which has lots of bright, vivid pinks. So I'm just going to pick up two of those and go right over top of those other two shades. And really just keeping this a little bit lower each time, and then going in with that original brush to really diffuse the color throughout the whole lid. And then I picked up a black eyeliner. It is very smooth, that's why I like this one. I don't know what it is called, I'll link it down below, but I really just drew that on the lower portion of my lid, starting at my lash line, just to lay down a base for that black that we're going to go in with. And then I took a flat brush and really kind of pushed it up and kind of tried to diffuse it as much as I could before going in with this shade Muse from the 39A palette. And then I am just packing this black on. I know that this can look very intimidating and it can be scary because it can look like you have a black eye, but follow these steps and take your time, and I promise you the outcome will work in your favor. So I am carefully just carving out where I want the darkest part of that black to be, and then picking up this brush, which is a blending brush that's a little bit more dense, and going into the crease with a little bit more of that Muse shade. As you can see, it looks very messy right now, so I'm going to do lots of blending. I went back into the 35B, picked up some more of that pink, and really blended that black into the pink. We're going to have to do this a lot because it does take lots of blending. Then I pick up that original brush with that transition shade, and then again with the denser brush with the black shade on it. So you just have to keep going back and forth and blending until you get the desired gradient or the blendability that you need. Then I wanted a little bit more of a red tone, so I picked up Roxanne and Jax from the Jaclyn Hill palette and just ever so slightly buffed that into my crease, and then picked up a little bit more of Muse and packed it on because I saw that my black was kind of fading and I wanted it to be as dark as I could. Then in the 39A palette, I picked up Canvas, and this is just to kind of diffuse all those shades. I didn't want it to be too bright and too red in that crease, so I picked up that shade to blend it all together and kind of tone it down a bit. And then I picked up some concealer and went underneath my brows because sometimes when you're working with shades like this, the shadows can get a little bit too close to your brow, but it's such an easy fix. Pick up some concealer, carve out where you want it. Don't forget that inner corner, especially if you're working with dark colors. And then use the good old gift God gave you and blend it out with your finger, because sometimes that is the best tool that you can use. And then I picked up that M433 brush again just to make sure that there wasn't a harsh line from that concealer. And then also that first brush again that we used for our transition shade, because we don't want harsh lines, we want to blend everything together. Then I used a Q-tip just to clean up all of that fallout. And now the best part. I'm going in with the shades Sunset Cove and Kitten Karma from the Stila Magnificent Metals, Magnificent Glitters, whatever that collection is. And I also used a little concealer just to kind of give myself a little bit of a light base before I went in with that glitter, because I wasn't sure how opaque the glitters were going to perform. So I just wanted to lay down a little bit of a light base. I carved out my crease with some concealer and just an angled brush. That's not completely necessary, especially if you're using a very opaque glitter or a loose glitter, then you don't need to do this. But I just wanted to take some precaution, and I had done it on the other eye. Then I put those glitters on the back of my hands and picked them up on this same brush, and I just began laying them down over top of that concealer where I'd already carved out my wing. Very, very easy. All you have to do is follow along the lines, and then you can easily clean up anything with a Q-tip. I applied some mascara. This is the They're Real by Benefit mascara, but obviously you can use any mascara that you'd like. As you can see, some of that glitter was transferring, so I did have to go in a few times and buff it out with that dense brush that I applied all of the black with. And then I applied some of the Intoxicating Lashes by Flutter. Now to brighten up right beneath my brow bone and into my inner corner, to set all of that concealer that we laid down, I just used the MAC Pro Emphasize Sculpting Powder, and that's just a quick fix to clean anything up. I used the Guerlain primer that I raved about in my last video all over my face, and it's best to apply this in an upward motion, so that's why you can see me applying it upward. It makes your foundation lay a lot more beautifully over it if you do it that way. And then I used the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops in the shade Moonlight. And I wanted some Radiance. I'm still trying to decide if this really does anything, because you do go in and cover it up with foundation, and especially if you're using a full coverage foundation, I don't know how much it actually shines through, so I'm kind of experimenting and trying to figure out if it actually does anything. Then for foundation, I used the YSL All Hours and the Marc Jacobs Remarkable. I often use the Remarkable foundation just to cover up some of the scarring on my cheeks, and I put that first before going in with the YSL, but I am loving this YSL foundation so far. I think that it's beautiful coverage, beautiful lay on the skin. It gives off a very, very pretty, I don't know, just it looks great on the skin, and it lasts a very, very long time, so I have been really, really liking it. And I kind of have been using it to carve out the tops of my brows lately. I'm trying to let them grow a little bit, and so they're a little wild. I've been trying to avoid waxing them so that they can grow out, so just got to do what I got to do for now. Then using my trusty Urban Decay Naked Skin Weightless Concealer, I am using the shade Warm, because this is a very important, very, very vital step if you are going to do any sort of dark smoky eye. The way to make it not look like you have raccoon eyes or you got punched in the face is to brighten up the rest of your face. So if your eyes are going to be extremely dark, then you really want to spend time brightening up your under eyes and brightening up other portions of your face. So I used a little bit lighter of a shade. I used the shade Warm this time so that I could really brighten up my under eyes. And then I baked a little bit with the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder just to make sure that I really allowed underneath my eyes to look very bright so that my eyes don't look so closed and I don't look like I got a black eye. So that's very, very important. And then with a beauty sponge, I just set the rest of my face with that Laura Mercier powder as well. Now I'm using the MAC Pro Shadester Sculpting Powder to contour my cheeks. You guys have seen me do this a million times. My routine hasn't changed much with that, but I really wanted some sculpted cheeks to go along with this dark bombshell eye look. So I just contoured the majority of my face where I always contour. And guys, don't be afraid to give this a try. Practice, you know, you can practice as much as you want to try and get this to work, and it's definitely a more bold look, but it's really, really easy to do as long as you spend time blending out everything and just, you know, do a little bit of practice. It's not that it's hard, it just takes a while because you have to blend. Then I carved out this contour with some RCMA powder. You guys have seen this done before as well, but like I said, I wanted to keep brightness into my face, so I didn't want that contour coming down too low into my chin or anything like that, so I just cleaned it up. Then to set underneath my eyes, I took the Banana Powder by Anastasia Beverly Hills and just really made sure to add a little bit more brightness under those eyes because you can't do that enough. Then I'm taking the shimmer shade in that contour kit by Anastasia. I don't know what it's called, but I've been really liking this technique lately to pick it up on a beauty sponge and kind of just put it on the parts of my face that I want a little bit extra high shine. And it kind of gives you like this natural glow. It's very pretty. Then going underneath my eyes, I used a Makeup Geek Creme Brulee eyeshadow as a base, and then back into that 35B palette for the hot pink just to kind of buff out underneath my eyes. I really wanted to blow it out with some of the bright shades before going back in with this dense shader brush and putting the Muse shade right up against my lash line, mostly on the outer corners. And then I'm going to pick up that original brush again and kind of just really buff out that black. I wanted it to be very diffused under there. And then to bronze my face just a little bit more, I picked up that Marc Jacobs, I think it's called Tantric or Tantastic. I don't know which is which. I'll link it down below. But I just wanted to bronze my face a little bit more, and so I used that on a big fluffy brush just to go all around my face and kind of over my nose, just lightly sweeping it everywhere. Then I picked up Mocha by MAC. This is a beautiful, beautiful rosy blush, and I think that it adds just a beautiful color to your cheeks, and I thought it really complemented this eye look. So I just applied that to the high points of my cheeks and a little bit on my nose and on my forehead. You do that when there's hardly any product left over, and it'll kind of give you this like impression of the color, but it doesn't really leave the color. So now I'm using the Beverly Hills Ofra highlighter and applying that to the inner corner and to the brow bone, and then using some clear brow gel by Anastasia Beverly Hills. Jeez. Anastasia Beverly Hills. And then picking up on a Morphe 510 brush, I think, the rest, like 3 of the shades from that Beverly Hills highlighter, and applying that to the tops of my cheeks and to my nose because I wanted that pretty glow. And then going in with MAC Show Gold, which is one of my favorite highlighters of all times, and putting it just over top. And then sometimes when you apply highlighter, it can come down a little bit too low, so you want to go in and use some blush to make sure that everything blends. And then I love this shade Breezy by MAC, but you literally need the slightest amount because it is so highly pigmented and people can often get carried away. So I just barely put anything and just kind of tap it on the tops of my cheeks, and it gives kind of like a rosy sheen, and it's just very beautiful. I applied some mascara and then went in and did some ombre lips. I only showed the Viper shade, but I also went in with Aquarius, which was the Kathleen Lights collab with ColourPop, and then used a lip brush to kind of ombre the lips. Now to set it with the All Nighter setting spray, and then that is it. I hope everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day and you spend it with everyone that you love. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.